This is the Drive-In Podcast, episode 39, take one. Bada bing, bada boom. Welcome to the 39th episode of the Drive-In Podcast. On today's episode of the Drive-In, we have the Express Checkup with yours truly, Dr. Rowe. We have our review of Cruella starring Emma Stone, and then we have our top billing of Disney animated villains. Make sure to tune in for that segment. So use the bathroom now, grab your popcorn, and enjoy the 39th episode of the Drive-In Podcast. All right, episode 39 is here. I am joined by Ricky Flicks. Nez, our co-host, is currently stuck out in Arizona on the West Coast. He'll be back for episode 40, the Big 4-0. But before we get started with a whole lot of news and a whole lot of great segments for today, Ricky Flicks, what have you been watching on streaming, on cable, sports? Hit it.
Yeah, so I've been kind of on a Disney binge the past week. I knew this was coming up as a review, so I rewatched 101 Dalmatians, the animated and live action version. I watched Little Mermaid. I watched a few other Disney flicks. I felt like a little kid again. But I think the big news of what I watched this weekend is what I went to the theaters for. And it was not. It was not our review today. Yes, I decided to go to the theaters to see A Quiet Place 2. And boy, next week is going to be some review. That's all I'll say now. Dr. O, what are you watching?
Well, I can't wait to see A Quiet Place Part 2. I have yet to see it. I might see it with Ricky Flicks. It'll be his second time, my first. But I can't wait to see our boy Cillian Murphy. I've been still crushing Peaky Blinders. I just ended season 3.
The man turned 45.
Amazing show. Amazing. Yeah, dude, he looks like he literally could pass for like a 27-year-old. It's insane. I just flat out don't believe it. Even if I saw a birth certificate, I wouldn't think that Cillian Murphy's 45. He's permanently 27 years old. But what else have I been watching? I got my A24 shirt on, some big fire here. A24 seems like they have like trendy clothes and stuff. They're like the in thing, right? Like the artsy fartsy film, but also like they make cool clothing. They were sold out of hats.
Cool movies too. Cool thrillers.
Really cool movies.
Thrillers.
And as I was about to mention, A24 film I saw this weekend. We brought up Barry Keoghan following the Eternals trailer. So I decided to check him out in Killing of a Sacred Deer. Holy cannoli. I don't even know how to describe that movie. That movie was wild. I probably put it on the unrewatchables, to be honest. Ricky Flex, you seen it?
Only the first half. I haven't finished it yet. I know I watched it one night, was falling asleep, and then I just haven't gotten around back to it yet. It's on Netflix now. I got to get back to it. But the first hour was creepy and weird, I will say. And I heard it just gets weirder.
Movie. And the score of it makes it even creepier. Colin Farrell
classic A24.
Colin Farrell's peak creepiness, and he can like kind of nail that type of role. Barry Keoghan, though, after seeing that, I'm excited for him as a potential villain in the Marvel universe. I think he'd murder it. I think we talked about it on the previous episode when we talked about the Eternals trailer. Feed me Barry Keoghan. I want Barry Keoghan. Check out Killing with Sacred Deer if you haven't. A24 film that really isn't talked about enough. It's on
2017 movie. Same year as Good Times, so it's kind of tough there.
Nicole Kidman as well, if you want to check it out. And then Bill Camp from The Night Of, if you guys know who Bill Camp is. Mm-hmm. All right. So that does it for
also in Queen's Gambit. Right? Queen's Gambit.
Bill Camp. Yeah, janitor, right?
Yeah. If people definitely have seen that. So the janitor.
A little more relatable.
Gambit. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Ricky Flicks, I think it's time that we get to the checkup. We got a bunch of things to note today and then comment on. You ready to go?
Let's do it.
Express style. Have at it. Aaron Taylor Johnson has been cast as Kraven the Hunter in Sony Pictures' universe of Marvel characters. SPUMC for short, terrible acronym. Kraven will be getting his own movie in the Spider-Man universe similar to Tom Hardy's Venom and Jared Leto's Morbius. There's no confirmation on the character status in terms of connectivity to Disney's MCU. Next up on the checkup, Joker 2 is officially in development, with Todd Phillips returning to write the script. Joaquin Phoenix's involvement has yet to be confirmed, and it hasn't been confirmed whether Phillips will return to direct. Next up, a Val Kilmer documentary is coming from Amazon Studios and A24 on the actor's life. The doc is rumored to debut at Cannes Film Festival this summer, including footage provided by Kilmer himself. Kilmer was an acting force in the 80s and 90s for all you young bloods, with roles in Top Gun, Tombstone, Batman Forever, and The Doors. Wrapping up the checkup here, we have a little trailer roundup. We had Last Night in Soho from Edgar Wright. The film stars Thompson McKenzie, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Matt Smith in a time-traveling thriller. The synopsis for the film reads, a young woman passionate in fashion design is mysteriously able to enter the 1960s, where she encounters her idol, a dazzling wannabe singer. However, 1960s London is not what it appears, and time seems to fall apart with shady consequences. Last Night in Soho releases in theaters October 22nd, 2021. To wrap up the checkup today, a little bit of somber news, but a celebration of life. Kevin Clark, known as Freddie Jones from School of Rock, the drummer, has passed away at the age of 32. We hope that he continues to create musical fusion up in heaven. That does it for the checkup this week. Ricky Flicks, which headline captures your attention most?
Last Night in Soho trailer was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. That's where we got to start.
Rockstar trailer? Rockstar?
Super Rockstar, like Beatles. It was unreal. And Beatles talks of the time, London, 60s. But Thompson McKenzie, I feel like she's in everything. Old. And Power of the Dog, your movie that you picked a couple weeks ago or last week.
The Carrie Strong movie she's going to be starring in.
Yeah, so she's just coming out of nowhere, like going to be in everything after Jojo Rabbit. So
she's everywhere.
That's great. But also the trailer, I have no idea what's going on, but it looks amazing. It looks amazing. Just the way they filmed it, it looks so interesting. And the music behind it, and also the movie poster that was released right after the trailer, just tells of a mystery suspense thriller that I have no idea what's going to happen. And I love that.
Right. And I think that kind of goes with your Rockstar trailer that you've kind of mentioned before when we got Eternals. You use the same description of it. And I think it's like you don't know what's happening, but you're so entranced by what's happening, you know? And I think the setting for Last Night in Soho really plays into that. I think Thompson McKenzie, obviously really hot in the streets. And then who do you pair her with? Anya Taylor-Joy? Are you kidding me? I think that's going to be an unbelievable duo. And they're kind of like, they seem like they might be going one-on-one against each other by the end of the
same
movie.
person. Are they the same person? Like, you know, because the way it was filmed, like in the trailer, it looked like they were the same person, live in alternate reality, maybe. And that maybe Thomas McKenzie's alternate reality is Anya Taylor-Joy, so they're the same person, maybe. That's just a guess here based off the trailer. But again, I don't know what I watched. All I know is that I liked it.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So it's like her traveling back in time, and she's like, I guess Anya Taylor-Joy, her character is her idol. That's who she wanted to be. Okay. And then I'm starting to think like my mind's starting to race right now. I got some crazy thoughts, but I think that potentially we're looking at a situation where Anya Taylor-Joy passes away, and then like she's reborn into this little girl. You know, that kind of like that sounds so super crazy, but that's like an afterlife
like souls
type of thing.
Going into other souls or something.
Yeah, it could be that, but
souls going into other bodies.
This also had like a horror vibe to it. I'm really excited to see.
Very horror vibes.
We've seen Edgar Wright really strictly do comedy. Even when he does zombie films, they're comedies, you know? Yeah. Baby Driver's not a comedy, but it has comedic aspects, and it definitely doesn't have a horror vibe to it. This one, you definitely felt that.
Oh, God, yeah, you did. Oh, you did. And another just fascinating thing is that besides a movie poster, another thing that came out on the same day as this trailer was the release date. And you mentioned it, October 22nd. What's October 22nd? Oh, yeah, Clint Eastwood's next movie, Cry Macho. Yes, that is there. But French Dispatch is coming out on the same day.
Oh, my God. I was thinking more like Halloween. I thought that's what you were going for after we're talking about the scary movie.
Ooh,
no,
okay, yeah.
But that's fascinating. You're going Wes Anderson versus Edgar Wright?
Versus Clint Eastwood. We got a little triple, like, face-off
standoff. We got a standoff.
This is pointing guns at each other. Office.
That's perfectly fitting for Clint Eastwood to have a three-way standoff at the box office.
Yes, the good, the bad, the ugly. But that was like, besides the trailer, I was like, holy crap, he just did that to Wes Anderson, who just announced. We've all been waiting for French Dispatch news because of that cast, maybe the best cast of all time on paper. And they dropped October 22nd. A week or two later, Edgar Wright's like, I'm going October 22nd. The disrespect.
He doesn't care. He couldn't.
The disrespect.
I feel like the studio was pushing him to keep like obviously pushing this release date back, as with a lot of like these studios, like pressuring these
Definitely.
directors, like, hey, this is what we have to do in order to get the most eyeballs on the screen. And then that just so happens to be on the same day. It's not like these are going to be like breaking box office records, but it still will be fascinating to like look back on the weekend, like who won it, right? Who are people more interested in seeing
This
with
is
their
gonna
new
be big.
projects, you know?
Yeah, and so like look at this past weekend, A Quiet Place Part Two versus Cruella. People were thinking, oh, who's gonna win here? And A Quiet Place doubled Cruella. I know Cruella had Disney Plus Premiere access as well,
Right.
but it's a little different compared to like a Mulan, where Mulan only came out on Disney Plus Premiere access, so you can't really compare the two numbers. So it's kind of tough to compare Cruella versus A Quiet Place Part Two, but no matter what, the numbers are just so different that it was clear that A Quiet Place Part Two won the box office this weekend. When these three movies come out, I think it's clear Cry Macho will deteriorate as in box office numbers, and these two films will go at it. And I'm interested to see who's going
Yeah,
to win.
dude, Cry Macho is just not, it's not a name that you, it's not a highly anticipated film like the other two.
Yeah,
Like
not at
French
all.
Dispatch was supposed to come out like way earlier in 2021, and then obviously same thing with Last Night in Soho. The anticipation was high. People were like looking forward to this trailer for a long time. Glad we got it. Ricky Flux, I want to talk about next. I want to talk about Joker 2. So this has been a rumored movie in development. It's not really surprising after the first one made $1 billion, right? Todd Phillips is returning to write the script. No confirmation if he's going to direct, and there's no confirmation that Joaquin is going to return as Joker. Do you think it's inevitable that Joaquin will return
I
in
think it
this film?
is. I know your blog says otherwise, but I think it's inevitable that Joaquin returns. I understand. I think you mentioned this in your blog as well, that Joaquin's very artsy. He he was adamant this is one film, and like he's can do any film he wants basically, and he probably has other things in his mind that he wants to do. And it sounds like he does not want to do this again. Superheroes and that whole world, comic book world, is just not his thing. This was the only thing that attracted to him to this role was the mental aspect of this, the mental illness, the character creating
Yeah,
from
it's a character
himself.
dive.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just that's what really attracted him to this role, not the comic book element of it, which there was some in Joker, but not as much as what I think that a lot of people would expect. Besides, obviously, the ending when, of course, they showed the Bruce Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne killing, of course. Uh, but
Had to.
but I just think if this is confirmed, that means he says he'll do it. It's just not confirmed yet. I know you have a bunch of thoughts on this,
So
but go
yeah, I
ahead.
have a bunch of thoughts on here. Personally, I know people, it's like they're thinking it's inevitable, but I think there is a chance that he doesn't do this. As you said before, he is not drawn to superhero films. The only superhero film he was really attached to prior to was that he was sought after for Doctor Strange by Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios, but they always had Benedict Cumberbatch in mind. They were only going to like potentially cast Joaquin because Cumberbatch had something else going on when Doctor Strange was about to shoot. But honestly, I think he would have been an awesome Doctor Strange as well. It's just Benedict Cumberbatch is meant for that role. He looks
He
identical
looks
to the character,
exactly. He looks
and
identical to the
and he
comics.
kills it. He kills it. Like he's
Murders
phenomenal.
it.
But and then we're seeing
Elite.
Joaquin is not slowing down. He's like going with Ari Aster and Ari Aster's next film. He's going to be in Kit Bag with Ridley Scott. He's not interested in this franchise potential that Joker has. Once it hits $1 billion, though, Warner Brothers lights up, right? That is, you got like Donald, you got Donald Duck gif of him just like slinging money, right,
Yeah.
walking left and right. You know, that's what they're thinking. This makes me think people were starting to say that this is a Joker that inspires a next Joker, right? So I am not very confident, but I think there is a good chance that we see someone else take up the Joker mantle because Joaquin is not willing to like keep going with this. And you have a chance for connectivity with Robert Pattinson's Batman. You have a chance for that in
Big
a
chance.
sequel. Okay. So I don't know if Matt Reeves, he probably has a whole thing in place that he didn't really want to
Anticipate.
include Joker. And Warner Brothers, what are they known for? Is meddling in with directors' visions. They could be saying like, dude,
Zack
imagine if you
Snyder.
had like a Joaquin inspired Joker. I don't know who you would cast as like his successor, meeting up with Pattinson's Batman. Could be electric, but also they probably might want to stay away from Matt Reeves' vision. So I could see it going both ways.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to the Robert Pattinson producing news last week. We can't, again, I'll say it again. I'll say it again here. Like I said last week, is that kind of confirmed that this Batman is gonna be good, and a trilogy is
Mhm.
probably in the works. And Reeves and his crew, his writer, like they all know what they're doing probably for that trilogy.
Right.
But just having that producer set and Pattinson, he could make another like he could just do he could stay on for more than a trilogy. Like he could just be attached to Warner Brothers
Right, like almost like
forever.
a Tom Holland is with
Spider-Man,
Spider-Man. He's
exactly.
just gonna keep making appearances. He's a young guy. He can do so much with the character. He has
Hmm.
such a large rogues gallery and characters to explore.
Right.
There's so much they could do. But Joker, like I because of the vision, like they want to keep it separate. But like if you have a Joker too, like you feel like eventually he has to meet up with Batman. What's the point of having Joker sequels if he doesn't eventually meet up with
Right.
Batman? You
Good
know what I mean?
point. Yeah, like what if there's no Batman in this one, then like exactly what's the point? Like what is he gonna do? Is it another origin story of a new Joker that you have alluded to? Like we don't want another origin story if it's gonna be a sequel.
Right. And
So
then like, okay, the second one makes $1 billion. Okay, I guess you're making a third one. Naturally, he
yeah,
meets Batman. That's what's your progression gonna look like, dude?
yeah.
Do the
Yeah,
math.
like look at like if you just look at quick thought, like look at Venom. They had its own origin movie with Tom Hardy. Obviously, I'm not going to put it in the same the same category as Joker as in
I see
quality,
what you're
but
saying.
let's just say it. Let's just for comparison's sake, had its own movie, made $1 billion, right, or just under 800 million, and like they had to make a sequel to it. So what did they do? They brought in his arch nemesis or the biggest rival to Spider-Man, Carnage, in the next one because they upped the origin. Joker has to up, and Joker 2 has to up Joker. How do you do that? You bring in Batman. So
And what's the expectation? Yeah, exactly. You're like third Venom, you're gonna meet Spider-Man.
yeah,
So it has to happen. Speaking of MCU and speaking of Venom, I want to quickly go over Aaron Taylor Johnson being cast as Kraven the Hunter.
ATJ.
Personally, I love this. I love Aaron Taylor Johnson, Kraven the Hunter as a character. He is a man who hunts other men. Like he like literally tries to kill them like for game. It's what's the short
The
story
most
called?
dangerous game.
Most dangerous game type
Great
stuff,
short
right?
story.
And I think you got to be a little bit of a psycho to like play this role. And who plays psycho better than Aaron Taylor Johnson in Nocturnal Animals? Like that's like he won a Golden Globe for the performance. uh I think he would absolutely knock this out of the park. Plus, he's got a sick beard that he could rock. And I think I can see him going against a Tom Holland Spider-Man at some point. And then I see him like he's on the same, almost on the same level as let's say a Tom Hardy or Jared Leto, who are all in this outside Spider-Man type universe.
Yeah, I agree. I like Nocturnal Animals. He won Best Supporting Actor at the Globes, I want to say, but obviously not at the Oscars. But he was phenomenal in that. He was the best part of that movie in my eyes, even though Jake G, Amy Adams, Michael Shannon, they were all good in Nocturnal Animals, but he was awesome. Aaron Tyler Johnson, like you said as well, has a great beard and he's played superhero before, as in Quicksilver
The look's
and
important. The
Kick
look
Ass.
is
So like,
important for a comic book movie.
right. So like he's gonna have the look of being like a jacked, beardy, hairy dude. Like that's Craven the Hunter and a
Yeah.
psycho, and he can play a psycho well. So I do love this casting, and it's just interesting. Aaron Tyler Johnson, like he's doing this. He's also doing the Kingsman
Mm-hmm.
with what's his name?
Ralph Fiennes.
Ralph Fiennes, yeah. And he's gonna be in David Leitch's new movie Bullet Train, which is Zaza Beetz, Hiroki Sanada, and Brad Pitt.
Brad
So
Pitt.
like
Yeah.
he's like on a tear right now. Like, he's getting after. He's like, I'm not getting back in the MCU as in as Quicksilver. Then I'm just gonna keep going my career. And if
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna involve comic book characters or not. And now he gets to get back into the comic book game, and he's doing it through Sony and maybe a way back to the MCU through this channel.
Right, and he had that long cameo in Tenet last year.
Right, right.
Yes, and going on with that, the idea of Sony kind of like not being afraid to cast him in a movie, even though he was previously a part of the MCU. Because obviously, if you ask like Kevin Feige, he'd probably be like, "I don't want you to cast this character in case like eventually you guys join up with the MCU." But they're
Mm,
just like, you know what? We're confident enough with these characters, these stories, these actors that we can pull something off. So I respect the confidence there too.
agreed.
All right. That does it for the checkup this week. We are now going to move on to our review of Cruella. So, Cruella is available to see on Disney Plus Premier Access for $30 or in theaters today, as we said at the beginning of the podcast. This will be a no spoiler review. So, if you are on the fence of seeing it and you're waiting to hear some people's thoughts about it, we're about to hit you with it. Okay. Currently has a 72% on Rotten Tomatoes, with a 97% audience score. Not surprising out of a Disney movie. And then it's got 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb. Very good score. So here's the synopsis that comes from Google for the film. Estella is a young and clever grifter who's determined to make a name for herself in the fashion world. She soon meets a pair of thieves who appreciate her appetite for mischief, and together they build a life for themselves on the streets of London. However, when Estella befriends fashion legend Baroness von Hellman, she embraces her wicked side to become the raucous and revenge-bent Cruella. All right, Ricky Flicks. Much anticipated film coming from Emma Stone. I know initially this was supposed to debut in theaters. Obviously, with the coronavirus pandemic, Disney has made the strategy of releasing several films with a little duality with Disney Plus and in theaters. So, Ricky Flicks, to start off, what did you enjoy most in terms of like aspects with Emma Stone as Cruella?
Yeah, I loved the performances really by Emma Stone and Emma Thompson. Emma Stone, American, playing a British woman here. She does, for the most part, keeps the accent decently well, and her you got a lot of Devil Wears Prada vibes
Oh yeah.
in this movie with Emma Stone being like the mentee to the mentor of Emma Thompson, who's the Baroness, who's the nasty leader, and it's kind of funny because the in the Devil Wears Prada, one of the writers that adapted that screenplay from that novel is one of the writers here in Cruella. So that's very interesting as well. So that dynamic was fantastic in this movie. The rock theme I thought was very good, made sense, and all in all, I was very entertained by this movie. A little long, dragged a bit in the middle. Dragged more than a bit, I would say. It dragged in the middle, I would say, but all in all, very entertained, well worth the watch.
So I was like rethinking my thoughts about this movie. When I first saw it, I was like, damn, that was excellent. And then I started to wane on me a little bit. I was starting to reflect. And then I'm still maintaining that this was a good movie. This was definitely a good movie. And it seems like obviously it has the 72% Rotten Tomatoes. The audiences are loving it. You mentioned like the almost Devil Wears Prada vibe to it. And I know the natural connection, but for this movie to another is Joker, the one that we talked about previously. And I think the connection here is very strong. Very, very strong. We have an anti hero, a classic villain, all right, played by an iconic actress. And she has a little duality to her. She does have, they didn't explore this too much, but mental health issues. She's a schizophrenic. Like I don't know if like Disney wants that being a main message in their movie, a primary message in their movie, but this had a lot of Joker vibes. It was darker. Obviously it has like the iconic music to it. Uh, I did enjoy it though, and I think you're right. The performances is what stuck out most from this. And I think Emma Stone killed it. I think she killed it. She did hold the accent long enough, but even though Emma Stone killed it, you know who I think was better was Emma Thompson. Like she
Agreed.
was spectacular in this movie, and I didn't even know she was in it before I saw it. I had no
I
idea she was in this movie.
It was shocking how good she was because it's a Disney live action not remake but prequel, very popular these days, just going off of these projects, right?
Origin
There's
movie.
intellectual properties, right? Um she probably just took this role because like big paycheck here, Disney movie, a lot of eyeballs will be on me, like this will be fun. But probably working with Emma Stone, just like they probably had a lot of fun just working together here and just
Oh yeah.
realizing, wow, Oscar winning actress colliding. Like just they were money together. It was
Yeah,
awesome to
they
watch.
bounce right off one another, and they knew exactly their roles in the movie, especially when they were on screen together.
Yes,
Emma Thompson, I think she's at a point of her career, almost like Emma Stone is starting to realize she's almost at the same point where it's like they've won their Oscar. And as we said before, like they're willing to dive in and have more fun with these roles. Emma Thompson saving Mr. Banks, going way back, Nanny McPhee and stuff like that. But and then obviously with this film, I love how they're just not afraid to just get into these wacky characters and just run with it. And that's what they did here. I feel like a little bit some of this could have been improvised, like, especially when they were playing off one another. You usually see it in more like overt comedies, but I definitely got that vibe a little bit here as well. Um, I want to talk about the setting that you brought up previously too. The punk rock scene, the 70s London. Genius. That was so good, especially when you're talking about a fashion designer and different types of like obviously different styles that are walking through. And then like the music choice, the soundtrack was phenomenal when you have Emma Stone strutting and like in her making her entrances. Like the style of this film, I thought also made a lasting impression.
Yeah, it was a great soundtrack. You got Time of the Season, uh, ELO, Rolling Stone, She's a Rainbow. That was the best, I
That
thought,
was
because
so
that
good.
was Emma Stone's introduction to with that song. I thought that was fantastic. So that kept things lively, right? Like even though things turned draggy or a little hectic, like the music was always consistently like good and right with the tone to make you like still like watching even in those boring draggy moments, right?
Mhm.
Um, it was kind of odd. Like ELO, I don't consider punk rock, but
No,
it
but
did fit in. So I'm
yeah.
gonna give it a pass. And also because I just love ELO and like all the soundtrack was just fire. Like
Electric Light
like
Orchestra.
I would I
Common concert.
Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, like volumes 1 and 2, those soundtracks I just play through for fun. I might
Mhm.
do this for this movie because it was that good. That's how good the soundtrack was. So I'll take that as a win for this, even though like it was kind of ELO is punk rock to me. It just seems a little odd.
And it's like Disney usually associates their original music with their live action movies, and like this is them like saying,
Right.
"Nah, like let's just use let's use the setting, use the music, and utilize it, man."
But I will say though, the score of this movie was terrific. It was very good. It was very haunting and daunting and just
uh,
cool. Like, come on. Like, I thought it could have been incorporated more. And this movie had a $200 million budget. Did it all go to the song rights? Like, seriously, like,
yeah.
to the song
There
rights
were
and
some cool
dresses?
effects in this movie. There were some cool effects. Her burning the dress was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. That
Mhm.
was cool. I was just like $200 million. Like, did that could just go to the song rights and dresses? I don't know where that like money went. I guess
Right.
the effects, like some of those did cost a little extra,
The
but
costume designs, like those are nuts. It was really a stylistic film. Um,
mhm.
before I want to talk about something that people seem to be complaining about. This is an origin movie for the Cruella de Vil character. Do you think there was like a strong enough connection to the source material? You mentioned that you watched 101 Dalmatians, the animated movie, and then I think you said the Glenn Close version. Or
Yes.
so, do you think there was a strong enough connection with the character to the predecessors, like to the previous performances?
Without spoiling anything in this movie, yes, I do think there's enough, but I can definitely see where people get their gripe with it. I personally have my gripe with the Robert character in this, and Robert is connected to the original 101 Dalmatians and also the new one, but I'm mainly talking to the
Who
original
plays
101.
Robert? Do you know? I don't know off the top of my head.
The it was the lawyer in
Okay,
the movie. I don't know who the actor is,
gotcha. Okay, okay.
but that's my biggest gripe with the connectivity with it because it's just completely different until the end. Um, it is neat when you watch throughout like some of like the little things. Like I watched it a second time today after watching the 101 Dalmatians animated and the Glenn Close version because I watched this Cruella before rewatching those two, and I was like, oh, okay, there it is. Okay, there's that. So you definitely could see it, but I could see where people would gripe on it. But again, this is its own thing. Like I
Hmm.
really appreciated Emma Stone, Emma Thompson, and the performance just taking it on their own here and just doing what they wanted to do. Greg Gillespie just really and the writers just really wanted to make their own film, and I think they did a great job here.
Agreed. I think they did an awesome
Great job
job.
with intellectual property, I should say.
Right. And I think that's something that Disney gets ripped on all the time. When you think of their live action remakes, they look at Lion King, how it was shot for shot the exact same thing. Like you're not giving the viewer any new experience other than the fact that like you're watching computerized animals, you know? So like here, like you're diverting a bit from the source material, which is a good thing. That's what I
Yes.
liked about this movie. And the fact that you can't necessarily anticipate what is going to happen. And something fascinating I've noticed with like these anti-hero type movies, whether it be like a Venom, a Joker, even a Maleficent that came out earlier. These characters are obviously the protagonists in the film, right? They're driving the film, but it's kind of controversial that you're kind of rooting for these characters, but they're villains, you know? So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Like the fact that like Joker, I didn't necessarily like the fact that like the Todd Phillips, it seemed like you wanted to root for Joker at the end, although it went against like your natural instinct. Like Cruella de Vil kills Dalmatians. You don't really want to root for her in the end. But I think
Right.
this movie did a decent job at making alternate characters, I guess like the antagonists of the film, more hateable to kind of like drive that, but I think it was still on the edge a little bit.
I agree. And you mentioned the live action Disney movies. Like this I guess Beauty and the Beast would be better.
I don't know. It's close.
Maybe
This might be better,
a
dude.
Jungle Book, I think, is better than this. I
That's
will
the top.
say John Favreau murdered that. But like, just if like I can run through like a list here, like The Lion King with, like, no, that wasn't
No,
better than this. Aladdin, no, I
no
don't think that's
creativity.
better than this. Dumbo, get out of my face. Colin Farrell, I love you. We just mentioned that, but no, that wasn't better than this. Christopher Robin, that was kind of weird
I
with
like
Ewan
that movie,
McGregor.
but I don't think
It
it was as
was,
good
but
as this
I don't
one.
think it was better than this.
That was just a feel good movie.
Yeah, like Cinderella. I don't like that remake. I don't think that was better. Like 2015 with Kenneth Branagh, like directing. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that was better than this.
No,
Like in the
Lily James.
101 Dalmatian movies with Glenn Close, those are trash. Those are awful. I don't
You
know
would know. You
why.
just watched.
And that John Hughes wrote was the screenwriter for the first one. So it's just like I did think this movie was extremely successful, and I think that's kind of blinding me a little bit. Where I'm like, wow, this movie was like amazing, but like to be honest, like it did have like we talked about some of them, it did have some pitfalls. So like I'm trying to like hold back because I'm just kind of comparing it to the other Disney live action movies, but you can't really do that. Just separate it on its own, and then like you see, it's still a really good movie.
I think this is right up there personally with Beauty and the Beast for like second best Disney live action. Even though this isn't really a remake, it's just a reimagination of the character. Um, there were some aspects. I know we really praised this movie. It seems like this is our favorite movie of all time. By the way, we were talking about it, but like there are some things I didn't necessarily love. One being motivations for the Baroness's character, Emma Thompson's character. I'm not going to get into spoilers, but what drove her character didn't really make sense to me. It didn't really make
It
sense
was
to me.
lame.
I think it was lame too. And it's just like, oh, it's just the person she is. Like, it's just like, people who've seen the movie will know what I'm talking about, but I'll just steer away from people who haven't seen it. But I mean, you have Mark Strong in a movie, give him something to do, please.
Right.
Give him something to do. He's an amazing actor. Like, why would you recruit Tom? I think that's just to put his name on the credits. Like, he didn't really
It was
put a
tough.
stamp on anything.
And
Right.
to be a butler, like, come on, like it's Mark Strong. Like at least be a butler, like in the Kingsman, and he's a beast. Like, come on, like,
Right.
and he has like a crucial, like
He's such a
part in it.
minimal
Crucial.
role in this
This was,
movie.
yeah, that was kind of sad to see. I kept thinking that, like, even the second time I was watching, so I was like, man, Mark Strong, like they just like disrespect him so hard in this.
I did notice a couple plot holes with the writing as well in terms of some of the heists they were pulling
Yeah,
with
the
yeah, go
schemes were
ahead.
really pretty lofty and unbelievable. They were
Right.
clever thinking, but like at the end of the day, this is 101 Dalmatians. Like in 101 Dalmatians, we have two dogs trying to save 99 dogs. Like it's unbelievable. So like
Right.
I kind of will give it a pass there, but it kind of goes to that point. I think what you were trying to say before I interrupted you, my bad, is that once you get into a universe, like a fantasy universe per se, like imagine like the MCU, you have to be consistent with your fantasy.
Exactly.
And like this was kind of inconsistent with the heists and the schemes that they pulled off, especially at the end. Kind of weird and very unbelievable, but I won't spoil it for you.
And like to provide an example for like the listeners, like when we say like consistency, it's like we reviewed Wonder Woman 1984 back on Christmas, and it's like the powers that like obviously the powers that Maxwell Lord gets, Pedro Pascal's character, is not
Oh,
believable. But like when you set these boundaries for these like villains or like for these characters, you got to stick with them, or else like you lose all credibility. So that's kind of like what we're talking about, and that was one of the like downfalls of Wonder Woman 1984, in my opinion.
oh God, that movie was so bad.
The Ricky Flicks is crying. It was so bad. Everybody throw
Yeah,
up. It's one or the other.
I think we all like who predicted it to be bad? Like nobody.
No. Well, I didn't think it'd be that bad. Holy crap. I thought it was gonna be good.
Nowhere near was this movie's like unbelievable aspects as bad as Wonder Woman 1984. We should be clear on that. But that was a good analogy.
Right. And I like Paul Walter Hauser in this movie. He is
What's the
great.
angle?
He, yes, he's great comedic relief. I would like to see him kind of expand his career a little bit. It seems like he plays the same thing in every single movie he's in, whether it's this, I, Tonya, Cobra Kai. Like he's very similar in every single role he's in. I know he's expressed interest in playing Chris Farley in a biopic. Feed it to me. I
Wow.
want to see that. Like, I want to see some range for this guy. He's really active on Twitter.
Yes, very active.
And I love that. And so it's like, if so, he wants to get a movie out there. I feel like he'll have support to do it. And I don't hate the idea of him playing Chris Farley. He's already got the build for it. He's got great comedic timing. It's just going to be, I
Do it
mean,
before he gets skinny.
right, exactly. I think that's what he said too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said I'm trying to lose weight, but if I want to play Chris Farley, I have to do it right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, and the roles he's been doing, he's been in comic relief, like I, Tanya, Black Klansman, like a little like dark comic relief there. But what else has he been? And Richard Jewell
Richard
was the
Jewell,
main
though.
guy, but he wasn't really comic relief. It was you're kind of laughing at the character, not with him, right?
Yeah, no, he did. He
Um,
was awesome.
but he was great in that with Kathy Bates. So I think he's on a high right now and should take advantage if a Chris Farley project gets thrown his way for sure. And while he's on his comedic relief spree before he gets into more roles like Richard Jewell, he should do it now and really take that catapult to the top.
I agree. Like take advantage of the situation he's already in.
Exactly.
So let's throw out some scores. What do you say, Ricky Flex?
Let's do it. You go
What do you got?
first. Oh, okay.
You want me? You want me? I'll go.
Okay.
Okay. I am going to give this a 79. I'm giving it a 79 out of 100. Okay. I was tossy turning a little bit after reflecting on it. I'm like, this was a good movie. I left it saying I enjoyed it. I think it was worth the money we spent to see the movie, which is kind of hard in this day and age with so much like free streaming options. The performances were awesome, highlighted by Emma Thompson, absolute stud. And I don't know how they're gonna go with a sequel after this, but I'll probably check that out too.
Yeah, I don't know. I really hope they don't do a sequel. I really don't. This like ended this transitioned very well to 101 Dalmatians. No spoilers, but like definitely this would be great to just leave as is, at least in my opinion. And before I
They
give a
said that
score,
about Joker.
but before I give a score, do you, Dr. Rowe, we haven't mentioned somebody here that is part of your favorite TV show of all time. Joel Fry, who's the Marine slave trader teaching Daenerys and Marine
Oh my gosh, Game of
in Game of
Thrones.
Thrones. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't know that guy's name, but
I had to
he did
look up his
okay.
actor name.
He did okay.
He did okay. But
He was there just to, he's a pretty face. If you're making a comparison to Devil Wears Prada, he's like the Adrian Grenier.
yeah.
Know what I
Yeah,
mean?
except not love interest, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, like for me, I give this an 83 out of 100. After watching it the first time, I was like 80 out of 100. But then I watched it again just to make sure, like, man, is this Disney live action, like intellectual property movie actually good? And yes, like it is. And a lot of like I said, it's a little draggy at times. And some of the schemes are pretty lofty. And I wish they incorporated the score a little more. And it did a couple. And I wish I did a couple other things with the other performances other than just the Emma Thompson and Emma Stone, just rivalry, similar to a Devil That Wears Prada that we mentioned. But 83 seems like the right score, and I really enjoyed this movie. I hope all you listeners watch it.
That comes from Ricky Flex. That's the highest of recommendations. Yes.
Sorry, one last. I think you asked me the question like what's things that I didn't like in this that connected to the rest.
Yep.
How she got her last name was terrible. Terrible in this movie. I don't want to spoil it, but
okay,
it was
right.
terrible.
Okay, got you. Okay.
It like ruined. It doesn't ruin the last name, but it's like, come on, like no.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know what you're saying. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
with the. I mean, it's not a big spoiler.
Cruella de Vil.
Yeah. I know what you're saying now. I was lost for a second. Nice little plug with the song at the end though too. I like the subtlety where it's like, okay, it's not overt in your face whenever she's on the screen. You ended the movie, play the Cruella de Vil song.
That was so in 101 Dalmatians. I think that was my favorite scene in the animated movie. Was besides the Colonel. The Colonel dog is so cute and awesome. Hilarious. But my favorite scene besides the Colonel is when Robert, because he's a musician and he creates songs for a living, and he creates the Cruella de Vil, like that song, right when Cruella, right before she arrives on screen for the first time, and that was an awesome scene in that animated movie. Go check that out on Disney Plus too.
I gotta check it. I haven't seen that in so long.
Quick 1 hour watch.
I must have been like 6 when I saw that, dude.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Cruella de Vil, such a magnetic and like I guess demonic type of person that and a great villain that it was. I mean, I didn't have to like rewatch anything to know who she is. You know, she's that iconic. But speaking of iconic villains and Disney iconic villains, I'm going to throw it over to Ricky Flicks for our top billing of Disney animated villains.
Thank you, Dr. Rowe. our top billing is inspired by our review of Cruella. Just like Dr. O mentioned, we have the top billing of Disney animated villains. This is a monstrous top billing. I think we're underestimating this on Twitter. We just say, oh, and our top billing is the Disney animated villains. No, this is the top billing of Disney animated villains. This is unbelievable. And we're including Pixar. What do you mean I'm including Pixar? So you need to pick at least 2 Pixar villains and at least 2 Disney animated villains. So it's 2 separate properties there. Obviously, Pixar was a separate company before being acquired by Disney. So you have 5 choices, of course, but 4 of those have to be mandatory. So, Dr. Rowe, do you want to just do a quick coin flip here to decide draft picks?
I got it.
So we'll do this live on air. I know we usually don't, but you get to see now who wants the first pick here. So Dr. Rowe, flip it, and I'll call it in the air.
Ready?
Yeah. Tails.
Heads.
It's heads. So Dr. Rowe, do you want the first pick or the second? And we're doing a snake, of course.
I will take the first pick in the draft.
Okay. Dr. Rowe, you wanted the first pick. What are your thoughts going into the draft and why? And you think there's a clear number 1?
Well, the thing is, if Nez was here, it'd be a lot harder to draft here. I have a big board. I have stars next to who I want, the people that deserve to be picked. I feel like the Disney non-Pixar have the more recognizable names, to be honest, because you think of obviously it's not really a spoiler, teasing pick, but Cruella de Vil pops in your head. It's right there. And the Pixar, you kind of have to think a little bit. Sometimes you have 2 villains, 1 movie, and you kind of have to choose. But I kind of have a question. Are we going for the most evil person or just the best villains, best characters, most enjoyable villains to watch?
For me, best villain, most enjoyable to watch. Who was the best?
Maybe it's a combination of the
character that was a villain.
Okay.
Who was the best character? Because another top villain could be who's the evil, who's the most evil villain in Disney?
Yeah,
there's a few out there. I know.
So I think who I have in mind for the first overall pick is a perfect blend of both, to be honest.
All right, well, let's get to it. So what is your first pick here for the top billing of Disney animated villains?
Round 1, first pick overall. I'm going to go with Scar from Lion King. I think Jeremy Irons, a great voice actor to go against James Earl Jones, Mufasa. And I mean, honestly, we think of evil things that a character in a Disney movie has done. How about killing your brother and pushing him off a cliff? How about that? And then also lying to your nephew and then telling him to run away and to never return. And then he also even has the evil henchman with the hyenas. Jeremy Irons as Scar is makes my blood boil, as he made my blood boil as a 7-year-old. Even when I rewatch it now, I'm I hate this guy, but it has such a menacing look too, with the dark fur. He's got the black on him too. He lives in a cave. He was an absolute menace, and it was great to see Simba take him down at the end of one of the most iconic Disney scenes. Now, it doesn't matter if it's Marvel, it doesn't matter if it's Pixar or whatever. One of the most iconic scenes after Simba takes him down and heads at the top of Pride Rock. So I'm gonna go with Scar. It's my first pick.
I don't think it's debatable. It's the most dramatic moment in a young kid's life is when they see Scar just push Mufasa off the ledge or off the cliff there and just get absolutely roasted by the stampede there. Maybe the most violent action ever on camera for a Disney villain.
For an animated movie, for sure.
They just went all out for this.
And then he stampeded over him, and then you had Simba going up to him after he got walked on, and then Scar comes up to him right after and says, "You have to go. You're gonna be blamed for this. Go."
Waterworks flooding every time you see that. But
oh my gosh!
I think just one last thing here is you mentioned Jeremy Irons here, and then the hyenas. I think a common theme that you listeners are gonna experience with almost all of our picks is going to be the great voice actors and the good henchmen / women, right? You always have to have a good voice actor for a villain that's animated, right? But you also have to have good sidekicks, people that are imbeciles, as
do the dirty work,
say, right?
And
do
they
the
are
dirty
imbeciles.
Work. Yeah. So
I'm looking at it now. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. So I think you bring up a good theme there. So that's a great first pick. Scar, that was 1-1 on my big board too. So I think that was a clear 1-1. Good pick.
Thank you.
All right, it's off to me. And I will go with Jafar and Aladdin. there's great motivation behind him to be the most powerful being in the universe, just like a genie. Eventually, that leads to his own demise. But he also has a great henchman, as is in his bird, Iago, Gilbert Gottfried's voice.
Great henchman.
Besides that movie, I hate Gilbert Gottfried's voice, but it fits in so well that I love it. He had and is on his shoulder, similar to a different character that I won't tease a pick here. But he looks the part with the hat. He's got the eyebrows, the snake staff, and the manipulation and trickery with his magic that he just backstabs Aladdin in the beginning, right? And also to the Sultan, he's supposed to be like an advisor to, right? Classic villain story. Jafar just looks the part, he acts the part, he is the part. Jafar, number 2 pick here.
I like it. I don't know if it was my number 2, but it's definitely in my top 3. Jafar, you know how we know he's so evil before he even says a word, and he does have a really menacing voice. He's got a freaking snake staff, dude. He's got a snake staff. It's just like the most evil thing, and the eyes light up, and then it's just a perfect match when you put them together. And he is so untrustworthy throughout this movie. I think he's a great pick as a villain. I mean, there's some dark moments of Aladdin when I'm thinking about it too. When Jafar is leading Aladdin to the cave, right, to get the lamp and everything. Like he's right behind him, and then the it was a lion, or like almost it looks like a pyramid. I forgot what it was, but he's like chomping down, like fire's coming out of it.
Yeah,
there are some like scary scenes for like a, let's say, a 5 or 6 year old in that movie. Jafar definitely on my list. I like it.
And with my second pick here, the first pick in the second round, I need to get a Pixar character in case you just pick your 2 right away. Just in case, just put it in my back pocket. I think this is the greatest Pixar villain. This is up for debate. After doing research, I don't think anyone picked this as the number 1, but this is mine. And it's going to be Randall.
Wow. What Monsters Inc. on
I
our
went
ass.
Monsters Inc. Some people will say he's not even the villain of the movie, as in the main villain. I disagree. He is a sneaky, slimy, just like he looks, right? Sully's main arch nemesis for the Scare title. Steve Buscemi's voice, perfectly casted. He's also
Perfect.
like, I love Steve Buscemi, but hey, he looks a little greasy too and a little slimy. Think of Art Fargo, right? So perfectly casted. And he created a scare machine to harm children. Like, come on now. Randall, my favorite Pixar villain. I just want him now, just in case you were going to go with it. I'm not sure if you would have, but your thoughts.
I wasn't going to with my next 2 picks, but he would have been a good late round pick, 4th, 5th, like type. Randall, he's such a slimy character. He's so slimy. Because like he is like, if you, this is what I'm talking about with like, in terms of like a character I like I hate Randall, but like in terms of like the sleaziness of a villain, he's great. You know, I think big ups have to go to the character designs for Monsters Inc. and the way he looks and like is scaly and everything.
Impressive.
And you're right, Steve Buscemi as that voice is spot on.
He looks the part if it was a live action.
Like, right. And like Randall's also, he's not necessarily the main villain of the movie, but he's always like someone you have to keep like your eyes, like you have to keep peeled. Like he's in your brain the entire movie. You know what I mean? And like I don't even know if he has a close relationship to James Waternoose, the main villain in the movie. I don't remember.
Henry Waternoose.
Henry Waternoose.
Yeah.
So
CEO.
I don't remember if he had a huge like connection to him, but like him like harming Boo made me want to snap his neck.
Yeah. Like, oh god dang. And he also had a great henchman in Fungus.
Stay away from Boo. He did.
You know, his Mike Wazowski. So Randall's my pick. Dr. Rowe, finish out the second round here. Your second pick.
All right. I'm gonna go with Hades. I'm gonna go with Hades from Hercules. James Woods. He is maybe not the most menacing, I would say, because he cracks so many jokes, but he's almost like a likable villain. Like I love like any scene he's in, arguably more than me watching Hercules. Like I just like to hear him and talk about like his interactions with his henchmen. What are they? What are the names?
Pain and Scar. No, Pain
No.
and
Rimmon Pain, something Pain.
Panic.
Pain and Panic. Good job, Ricky.
Imbeciles.
Yes, like hearing him rip on him, it's like your boss ripping on the lowest guy on the totem pole. It's like everyone wants to hear it out loud. So I love Hades, and I just think of even his head, like when he puts out the flame on his head and he's bald, is just like very funny. And he's like a Disney villain who's not trying to be too menacing. He's having fun with it. So I'm going Hades as my second rounder.
I was toying with him and Jafar. You went with him. He has a great look as well. The blue hair, gray skin. Great story behind him with Zeus. I think they did a great job. All-time schemer. All-time schemer.
Wow. Yeah. Agreed.
So, great pick. Your third pick.
Now it gets a little interesting because like I feel like I have to go with Pixar, but I have like multiple villains from the same franchise,
There's a
like
lot.
as a
There,
pick.
there's a lot. I think I shouldn't have gone Pixar. That was a mistake on me. It's deeper than I thought.
You know what? I feel like you're not gonna. So we have to go 2 and 2, and then one whatever we
Yeah,
feel.
you can do a third Pixar or a third Disney, either one.
You know who scared the crap out of me growing up? And you mentioned the movie earlier. Is Ursula. I want to take Ursula from The Little Mermaid, dude. She was
She
scared.
sucks.
Talk about her song, like and like underneath and like almost like trapping Ariel, like in like the darkness of it. Dude, she collects souls. Like she's a messed up woman, and I'm
Very.
excited to see her in live action, especially Melissa McCarthy playing her. I think they could do something really cool. Hopefully, they use a good amount of like CGI and whatever to like make it look awesome. But dude, I was so scared of Ursula growing up, and like that was the first woman I was scared of, I would say. In anything. I'm scared of Ursula.
She has a garden of like dead mermaids or mermen or whatever.
Yeah, dude,
Like that's
she's
so
a
messed
scary
up.
character.
And her look is just menacing. But Emma
That
Stone I think just said this week that there should be an Ursula spinoff. And they
like
only
like
like
yeah.
you
So like an
think they
Ursula
should
like
do that?
origin.
Like
I don't I
Cruella
don't know. I
Deville,
don't know.
like her background is like she wants to murder these Dalmatians and make fur coats. So like you just immediately think like, what does she have against Dalmatians? We must know. Let's make a prequel. Ursula, it's like, all right, she wants to have um Ariel's voice. So I guess like what happened when she was a kid? Did she try to like go for the choir and she got denied? Like, is that going to be the prequel? Like,
Yeah,
I don't think it's as good.
I think she's just a dynamic character. Like I
Mhm.
think that she just like will bring eyeballs to the screen. And like a lot of people were criticizing Cruella for being too dark. I think, and like honestly, nothing dark really happens in the movie. But like Ursula, you're dealing with some really dark themes, I think. So it'd be interesting to see what direction they go if they actually pull that together. And it could realistically happen after Little Mermaid movie comes out. They say, okay, let's make an origin movie if Melissa
Yeah.
McCarthy kills it.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Okay. Off to me for my third pick. So you don't have a Pixar pick yet. So your last two are going to be Pixar. So I feel like I have to pick a Pixar here. This might be questionable because there's so many in the franchise, but this is my favorite Toy Story villain. It's Lotso.
Lots.
Lotso.
That's who I was debating.
He's supposed to be a loving teddy bear that smells like strawberries, and he ends up being a ringleader of an evil society or like a warden of a jail at Sunnyside Daycare. Like, great backstory to get to his stubbornness and revenge, right? But just this lovable teddy bear during the day is getting hugged by kids and smelled up by kids, and at night he's just a ruthless like warden. I think it
Yeah.
was unbelievable. Toy Story 3 is one of the best, if not like one of the best anime movies of all time. And a big reason of that is because of Lotso.
I agree. I like Lotso. He looks so welcoming. He's pink. He's so nice to everybody when he gets there. Like, even like me watching it, I didn't know he's gonna be that evil afterwards. He has no remorse for any of the toys. I I couldn't agree more. Like, that's who I was debating with, and I probably should have done it because I just picked three. I should have left my last pick to be like, okay, which one do I go with? But I decided to go Ursula. I like Lotso as a pick. He's arguably the most. I think he is the most menacing
And
Pixar villain.
and oh, I'm glad you just said that because that leads into what I was about to say is that if we were doing the draft of like villain of the villains, right? Scar would still probably go number one, but Lotso at the end when he's like in the garbage plant and he has a chance to save them and he still doesn't.
Yeah.
Like that was like Disney. I was shocked. I was like, oh, we're not doing the like classic Disney where like, oh, like, I'm a good guy. Like, here you go. No, he's like, sayonara. And so that all-time villain, Lotso, is going to be my third pick.
Yeah, that's good.
And then my final pick. Oh, sorry, my fourth pick. I'm going to go Pixar again. So 3 Pixar for me. Right? Yeah, 3 Pixar. And I don't want to pick one character, even though it was awesome for societal reasons. So I'm going to go Syndrome.
Nice.
Again, another great story. Former fanboy of Mr. Incredible that now just tries to overthrow him later. Makes it awesome. Kind of just is a schemer making him think, oh, relive his glory days. But nope, like, I'm here to kill you. Like, I'm an evil genius. I have the look. I have the costume. I have the hair. Very villainy. And he was great. So I'm going to go Syndrome.
That was the one I was going to pick. He's like a good example of like, I don't know. There's like so many like fanatics today with social media following all these like people, like all these like superheroes, these actors or whatever. Like he's kind of like a character you could see existing with minus the abilities, minus the gadgets, minus the whatever. It's just he's just like a he's like a fan fanatic that like
a Zemo
gets on your
or
nerves.
not fan fanatic, but like a Zemo. He doesn't need powers.
Right.
He's
That's
just smart.
Yeah. And
controls the screen.
100%. And I think that he is a tad annoying for sure, but I think that just comes with who he is. And
yes, the
and
fanboy element.
it's a good story too, like his like rise to becoming a villain and like after being disrespected by Mr. Incredible. I do like that aspect. Yeah, I think definitely it's a top. I think it's a top 3 Pixar villain.
Yeah, I think Incredibles is so much better than Incredibles 2, and I really liked Incredibles 2. And I think a big reason is because of Syndrome. Incredibles 2 just didn't have that same villain's story arc that you want to see like in a movie, like from your villain, a really powerful villain. And you just didn't have that in Incredibles 2 and Incredibles with Syndrome, you got that. Like imagine like at the end with Jack. Like
Oh my gosh.
that was before, because like you don't think Jack has powers at that point. So it's just like, wow, he's gonna do this to Jack. He's a villain. So Syndrome's my 4th pick. Dr. Rowe, your 4th and final 5th pick.
4th, I'm gonna go Stinky Pete from Toy Story 2. Like he is menacing. The prospector. Yeah, I don't even give him the benefit of calling him the prospector. He's Stinky Pete. He is the worst. Okay. Like like refusing to let Woody run away with Jesse, and like the fact that he just like will do whatever it takes to make sure that they get shipped off and they get on that plane where they think they're going to China. All-time evil character, I think. And he also like, it's almost like a Lotso where he comes across as such a nice guy. He's like, Woody, and all that stuff. But then
watch your old cartoons with
then
me.
You see him using like the weapon, and you're like, holy crap, like this guy has a
dark
side to him. He's got a dark side to him. But I as a kid, I don't think there was a villain I hated more like than Stinky Pete.
He might have the best name. Like Lotso's up there, but Stinky Pete, like that's a villain. Like as in like a childhood like animated movie villain. Like this guy is just terrible. Just an awful dude. Hate him. He'd rather be in a museum than be played with as a toy. Like that's just get out of my face. Certified psycho. Stinky Pete.
Yep. In my 5th round, dude, I mentioned this at the earlier in the podcast. This franchise has so many good villains in it. I'm going double Toy Story. I have to go Sid.
You're going Sid.
I have to go Sid. Sid, like you think about iconic when you're talking about black shirt, skull. You even had the cameo in Toy Story 3. Dude, he was like the look on Buzz Lightyear's face when he's sparking up these toys into rockets and shooting them up into space, freaking out. And he's also just like the meanest brother of all time. He gets overshadowed by the Lotso and Stinky Pete for sure. Right. Those two are just like so mean. And they like Toy Story did a great job picking it up in the sequels, elevating it, elevating the stakes. And then, that one, it's like very much at home, neighbor's house, whatever. He's the evil kid that's burning toys up. Everyone knew a kid who was burning stuff. Right. They went around the room during morning meeting and they said, "Hey, what do you like to do on the first day of school?" "I like to burn stuff." Right? Some people like to do cartwheels. Some people like to throw
Questionable.
the football. That kid, he likes to burn stuff. Stay away from that kid. That parent does not let the other kids hang out with him. So I like Sid in the 5 spot. I didn't want to go double Toy Story, but I had to.
I was afraid of that myself, so I thought you were gonna not do that and do a different character. So I'm interested in that as well, and what we talk about in honorable mentions. But before we do that, I have my last pick, and my last pick has to be a Disney character. I'm toying with two. I have one higher than the other on my big board, but for the podcast's sake and to diversify things up, I'm gonna go Yzma from Emperor's New Groove. Don't know how to
Yeah.
pronounce it, but I think I got it.
Yzma.
Yzma, yeah.
Yzma.
Underrated, but underrated, forgotten great Disney movie with David Spade as Cusco, John Goodman as his good old sidekick Pacha. But similar to the pick I would have done, since there's no more picks, I'll say Cruella. I was going to pick the woman that wanted to kill 101 Dalmatians. Like, come on. But for the sake of this podcast and little diversity here, or just different, I'm going to go with Yzma. But she's similar to her with her looks, right? Her genius schemes, the way she speaks, even. And the person that voiced her, I looked it up, Eartha Kitt. She died, unfortunately, in 2008. And
RP.
but she had a great voice for this. I have no idea who she was before looking her up, but she was great in this. And the sidekick, we mentioned the sidekicks, Kronk, Patrick Warburton, like he was phenomenal.
I was wondering if I could pick him up in free agency and replace him with Sid. I want Kronk. Like
Kronk was
Kronk.
so good.
I don't even think he qualifies, but like he's like a
He's too
henchman
dumb.
he's like a henchman that turns into a good guy.
Oh, we should do a
Dude, he was so
henchman
electric. He
draft.
got his own show, dude. I think he
Yeah.
got his own movie. He got his own movie.
I think
Kronk's
he
New
did.
Groove?
Kronk's New Groove.
Oh man, well deserved.
But that just shows how good like he was in this and how good the villain is in this movie. And the movie was awesome. My God, we should do a henchman draft. Like for just all animated characters.
Pain and
That would be
Panic.
really good.
Yeah.
Like that would be pretty cool. But
Go.
oh man. I'm
Done
happy
that. We should have done that this time.
Yeah, it would have been good. I think there's so many Disney live action remakes coming out. Like we'll do one soon.
All right, we'll have to mark the calendar.
But that does it for our top billing of Disney animated draft, Disney animated villains draft. Before we do honorable mentions, let me just read off the list here. Dr. Rowe has Scar from Lion King, Hades, Hercules, Ursula, Little Mermaid, Stinky Pete from Toy Story 2, and Sid from Toy Story. Ricky Flicks has Jafar from Aladdin, Randall from Monsters Inc., Lotso from Toy Story 3, Syndrome from The Incredibles, and Yzma, Emperor's New Groove. Dr. Rowe, let's go with so Cruella, obviously a big one left off. I had her high on my big board ahead of Yzma as my fourth overall Disney animated villain. But like I said, I try to diversify it. How about some other Disney ones? Any other Disney honorable mentions you want to mention?
We tend to do this whenever we review something or do something. We don't draft whatever like we're talking about. So like Cruella de Vil inspires a Disney villain draft, arguably the most evil, and we just don't pick her. We just stay away from it because I don't know. It's just the way we operate. But
I kind of like it though.
Yeah,
we already talked about it. Like, move on to something else.
Shere Khan, Jungle Book.
Great screen presence.
Right, and think about even the guy who played him, dude, Idris Elba in the Jungle Book. Great casting.
That was great.
I had Shan Yu from Mulan, the leader of the Hun. What else did I have? I had Clayton from Tarzan. He was kind of, I don't know. He had a brutal death, which is something you don't really see in Disney movies. And it was cool to see the one-on-one with him and Tarzan, but he was so damn unlikable.
Yeah.
And then what else did I have? Anything else? Man, I didn't have a lot of Pixar, dude. I think.
Wait, before we get to Pixar, just focus on Disney.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Yeah, that's all I had really. And I had Gaston, who's like the hyper masculine dude.
Yeah, and, I'm not a big Gaston guy, personally.
Yeah, nah.
He lost Belle to a little animal too. Like that's just tough look. But I guess for some Disney here, Captain Hook.
Yeah,
Peter Pan, I think
wasn't
iconic, like with the hook, and the red suit, purple hat, like icon. Maleficent, who also got her own movie,
I
two
actually don't mind.
movies.
I don't mind that origin movie. It's not bad. I didn't
Yeah,
see the sequel, but the first one isn't bad.
I haven't seen the sequel either, but it had the Raven on her shoulder too. Like the animated movie, Sleeping Beauty, like
She
very
looks so
good.
evil.
Yeah, very evil character. So that was a big miss, or not a big miss, just a miss. Um, then I have some just like ones I wasn't gonna pick, but just like ones to say here, the Lilo and Stitch, just all the villains in that, they were
Dude,
hilarious.
I, yes. Are we including the Marcellus Wiley guy as Shades?
I don't consider him a villain.
Marcellus Wallace, excuse me.
Yeah. I don't consider him a villain. But like I was
Yeah,
thinking
he's
like just
not.
like all the aliens just coming down, like the whale, evil scientist that created Stitch, like all great.
Mhm.
Tamatoa, the crab in Moana,
Oh, okay.
with that song as well. Um,
The crab. Yeah, that's not
yeah.
bad.
Pete from a Goofy movie. Screw Pete.
Yep.
And then the person who shot Bambi's mom.
Oh, dude, I had that on my list too. I wrote it down. I was gonna pick that instead of I mean I couldn't pick anything but Pixar was my last pick, but I did have that.
Right.
I had that written down. That's
All
good.
right, and then Pixar honorable mentions, Dr. O.
Dude, I didn't have much. I had a lot. I had all three Toy Story movies, not the fourth one. I don't even remember who the villain was, to be honest.
The doll.
The doll. You're right. Oh, that's pretty menacing, but
Yeah.
still wouldn't make the list.
Mhm.
I wasn't gonna pick the bad guy in Ratatouille. Like he was never.
Yes.
Like I
What was his
love
name? Skinner. Yeah.
Chef Skinner, but I would never like. I love Ratatouille, but I would never pick him. Um,
Ruining a legacy of Gusteau.
like I wasn't gonna pick Waternoose. I don't think he was that. Charles Muntz wouldn't have been bad from Up.
He's good.
Yeah, that would have been a
He
decent
just
pick,
came
but
too late. He came too late in the movie.
right. And he also like people. If I said Charles Muntz, like people on the graphic would have no idea who I was talking about. They'd be like, "Who the hell
Well,
is
yeah,
Charles
you have the
Muntz?"
picture, but yeah.
Right, but
I think they would need a rewatch up and be like, wow, that's a great villain. But then like again, like you see it, like he didn't get introduced like his actual physical character until
so
like
late in the movie, it's like 70
3/5
percent
through.
through.
Definitely
Yeah.
over half. Like it was I wish he was in it more, but great movie. Any others?
No, I honestly didn't. I haven't seen Coco. Like, and I know that's a
You haven't
big.
seen Coco?
I've seen. I always fall asleep when I watch it.
Oh.
I've said that before. Like, I literally turn it on and I fall asleep like an hour in.
So there was three others I was considering like in that up. I wasn't gonna pick them, but they were like if Nez was here, they would be in contention. Al, Toy Story 2, steals Woody from a garage sale, and that's not cool. Hopper, A Bug's Life,
I
Donnie
wasn't gonna
O'Neill.
pick them. Not
Yeah, I
allowed.
can't pick it, but wow,
No one is
what a
allowed to
dictator.
pick a
The
KS.
the dictate, just unreal character. I couldn't pick it though. And then
I was
from
thinking
Coco,
about it, but like I can't tell you. Can't do
yeah.
it.
Oh, if you like rewatch A Bug's Life, I feel like that's forgotten too. In between like the Tarzan, Lion King, Toy Story, like all those great animated movies of the '90s, like that's just
Stay
forgotten.
away from the light.
But A Bug's Life, such a great movie. And then Ernesto de la Cruz from Coco, like
Yeah.
the
So
portrayal of the highest order. Basically, Dr. O, imagine if Elton John and Bernie, Bernie's the one who like writes all of Elton John songs, are at their peak, right?
yeah.
And Bernie's like, "Yo, I'm gonna go just start a family," and then Elton John's like, "No, you're not," and Bernie's like, "Oh, I am," and then just kills him basically. How crazy is that?
Jesus, that's messed up.
Yeah. So
I mean, if I
nuts.
saw it, I definitely would have put him on the list.
But insanity. And then my last one's Darla, just as a joke.
Darla is one I was thinking about, but like
Finding Nemo.
once again, like just so annoying. Just get out of my face, Darla. Jesus.
Makes sense. But that does it for our top billing of Disney animated villains. This was a good one. Dr. Rowe, round us out.
All right. That will conclude this episode of the Drive-In Podcast. Thank you for listening. And please leave us a review wherever you're listening to this. And then please rate us 5 stars.
5.
Next week, we have a highly anticipated review. We have A Quiet Place Part 2 in theaters now. Go see it. Hop along with the review. We'll do spoiler and non-spoiler for next week. How are
Definitely
you?
for that
Okay?
one.
So that does it for episode 39. We will smell ya
Later.